Blessings, blessings, BookTube. It's Thursday today. I have a tag for you. If I seem a little less relaxed, it's because our students are back and we're back in the saddle teaching. Um, I want to thank Heather Reeds for tagging me with this fascinating original tag she created um, called How Proust Can Change Your Reading, based on a book that she's done a fascinating review of as well. I recommend that. Okay, so the first prompt is how to live life today. If there was only time to read one more book before the world ended, which book would you end? Would you read? Oh, interesting. Yeah, I would be ending the book of me. I would be reading probably, I think I usually answered the Tibetan Book of the Dead for this, but I'm very much in the mood to have a last little laugh. I also think I would find it hard to concentrate with the impending doom, so I think a comic strip might be easier to handle. So I would go out reading Calvin and Hobbes, which has some profound messages in it as well as some laughs. Okay, two is how to read for yourself. Name two books which had one or more of the Maquis de Lau effects on you. So these Maquis de Lau effects are different effects that Heather explains in her original prompt better than I ever could. So I'll refer you to them there. I can tell you the two that I chose to do were a reading that makes you feel less lonely because you connect with something in the characters, and the other is the one that creates for you. I called it a paradigm shift. That was my own word. She talked about it as a new perspective or something like that. Well, for feeling less lonely, um, I picked My Family and Other Animals. That's by Gerald Durrell. It's humorous. It's British, and I just love British stuff. It makes me think of my British family. Always makes me kind of nostalgic and warm and feel less alone in the world. Um, Even though most of them from the war generation are past. So that would be that, or for like a friendship. Well, we'll get to that one in a minute. Okay, and then for the paradigm shift, there's an amazing book called The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. Um, it is by a neurologist who presents these case studies of these amazing people who have so many abilities that we all have the potential of if we used our brain in different directions. If you think of our brain as in the middle of a big circle, and where our brain is going in this 5-degree arc of the circle towards social interactions. If we gave up those social interactions and turned our brain a little this way or a little that way, we could take in 5 degrees of perfect recall or 5 degrees of perfect pitch. All of these are human potentialities, but we have spent most of our brain functioning, wiring towards being social. And I don't regret it, but it's really amazing to read those studies and see the other human potentials that we all could have, but for a different birth outcome. One of his, I want to say his name is Oliver Sacks, yeah. Oliver Sacks, he might have written Awakenings as well, but one of his um, case studies in that book had a movie made about her. She had autism and she designed a more humane slaughterhouse. I forgot the name of the movie, but anyway, so I definitely recommend The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. Okay, three. Oh, she does give you the different Marquis de Lau effects. So A is to recognize what we have in common with people who seem different. So that's the one I did. B is to have our own thoughts and emotions echoed and therefore feel validated. I sort of conflated those two. C is to read about an idea or emotion and recognize as one you experienced, but never articulated. Well, I wear my heart on my swing. If I experience it, I'm probably articulating it. Those who both love me and hate me would probably tell you that about me. D is to draw attention to something we had previously ignored or failed to recognize and to see the world differently. So that was the one I just did. All right, number 3 now, how to take your time. If you had to spend a week in a cabin in the woods with no phone, TV, radio, internet, transportation except feet, but there was a hardback copy of Proust's In Search of Lost Time, À la recherche du temps perdu, would you try reading the book or would you do something else? This one actually I took in a different direction because I have read not all of Lost Times, huge. There was another translation for that title that I preferred, but it's not coming to me right at the moment. But anyway, um, I probably wouldn't reread that. I liked it okay, but not enough to want to reread it. So I was thinking of another massive tome that I could spend a week in a cabin reading. And I thought of James Frazer's Golden Bough, which I also half read. But that one I would like to reread. It's very dated now, but that's part of the appeal. It's all about folklore, mythology, anthropology, the stories that different culture groups around the world have told themselves through time and are telling themselves now around the world. Well, now at the time of its writing, which I'm not even going to try to guess the decade, but because it was one of those older books, they were still going for that like totalizing, theory. They were trying to encompass all of human knowledge and like, the perennial philosophy and a lot of older intellectuals used to try to develop these massive philosophies. I have a upcoming video about one of them for you from a book I found here. So I'd like to reread The Golden Bough. It got left in a trunk in a car that we had to leave in the middle of Texas. So someone hopefully in the middle of Texas is reading The Golden Bough now. So I would spend my week in the cabin with that book. 4 is How to Suffer Successfully. Is it true for you that some kind of suffering or happiness is probably what makes you a reader or a writer? Well, I'm a Buddhist, so it all starts with suffering. Yes, here's the thing. I was a big time reader and writer before suffering began really for me. As a very young boy, I had this golden era when I went to Montessori school. Mom was still with my stepdad, so we had a house, an intact family. We were in Austin, Texas, which was an amazing city at the time. In the 70s, kids were free, and yeah, life was very good. And I wrote and read like mad. I was probably like second grade. So all of that was before my big sufferings began. And therefore I can't say that those things made me suffer. What I can say is, if I had not, would I have been less of a mystic? If I had not had that experience, would I have been more prosaic, maybe more of a historian than a mythologist? It's an interesting question, but I did have that fall from Eden, so we'll never know. Not in this lifetime, maybe next lifetime. Okay, how to express your emotions. We're on number 5. Think of any book you recently read and enjoyed. In 100 words or less, describe what you think was good or bad about it without using adverbs or adjectives. Well, I decided to use similes. It's not a book I really enjoyed, but it's so fresh in my mind, I'm still sort of dealing with it. I think trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, really, I'm trying to find more depth in it than there was because it was the 3 Body Problem author that everyone loves. But I read his work, Ball Lightning, and you can see my review of it. Didn't think too much of it. So here's Ball Lightning. Those of you who have read it, tell me if you think I nailed it. Ball Lightning as title. Ball Lightning as beginning. Ball Lightning as eraser. Ball Lightning as ghost. Ball Lightning as enigma. Ball Lightning as obsession. Ball Lightning as wallpaper. Ball Lightning as blindness. Ball Lightning as bond. Ball Lightning as atom. Ball Lightning as weapon. Ball Lightning as accident. Ball Lightning as balloon. Ball Lightning as metaphor. So there we go. I didn't use any adverbs or adjectives. in general, I try to avoid, the hyperbolic strings of adjectives in my reviews that you can sometimes get when people don't want to engage, too much with the actual text and actual ideas of the book. And when I do, I always try to substantiate them with some evidence from the book that I'm using. It's just, an academic training that we have for dealing with literature, which I sometimes feel I do miss, I have to admit, a bit on BookTube as I read some reviews. All right, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, how to be a good friend. Think of a book where friendship is central and discuss whether Proust's principle about 100% honesty being bad or a friendship is not true. So here's the interesting thing. My stepfather lives in a commune, has most of his life. It's a very successful one in Staten Island. They own many houses and businesses. And they don't have a guru, but they had a central philosophy for quite some time, which was not quite, but approaching sort of total honesty. And I can tell you, I'm not a fan. Not a fan. All right, but let's get back to books. I was thinking about Peter Camarazind. Hesse wrote a number of books, Steppenwolf, Damien, about sort of young men, and the friendships in them are always really, really close. And I can't say they're based on total honesty. What I would say is they're based on total mystery. They're based on total exploration of self. They're young men becoming men and trying to, figure out what that means, self-realize, and having, lucky enough, someone else to do it with who's also going through the exact same thing. I feel like I had this experience in my real life in Peace Corps. Many of us who were quite young, 26 or so, 27, and we were all grappling with some of the same questions about our world and about ourselves and our role in it. And it was really wonderful to have people to really probe those deep questions with, who were interested in also going very deep with it. I miss that very much in my life, and I think it's one of the things I'm always looking for in BookTube, but I'm not sure any tube could really provide it. I still have, my best friends are still wonderful in that way, but they're all far away and busy with, their own families and stuff. Okay, so an honest, interrogation of self, I would say, is a feature of those friendships in Hesse, Herman Hesse, Swiss-German Nobel laureate. Okay. How to open your eyes. Is there a book that opened your eyes to the beauty of a different genre or a different type of writing or a different subject matter? Yes. When you learn a new language, it's amazing. You open whole new pathways in your brain, just totally different ways of saying things. Even in something you might have read it in English, but now you're able to read it in the Spanish or in the French, in my case, or whatever other language, second or third or fourth languages you speak. I feel like that's, one of the most amazing experiences you can have as a human being. Because once you have that second viewpoint, you can look back at yourself on your first viewpoint, and you've never really seen yourself from the outside, right? Which is why I think everyone should study abroad, at some point in their lives. It should be part of our core curriculum. So yeah, you get out of your own culture and you can see your own culture, plus learn a whole other culture. So it's like double. You get a double benefit. Oh, sorry for our British friends. I should have made the V's not like that with my fingers. But anyway, so some authors that just popped into my head that I was reading in Paris when I was studying at the Sorbonne. Theophile Gautier, a lot of Chateaubriand, Benjamin Constant, a lot of the romantics, and Gerard de Nerval, some exotics stuff as well. Exoticism was a course I took. And the last time I had that experience was you can also get it from like different forms of writing, especially poetry. So I took a course at the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley. This is lovely Jesuit teacher of ours. He was, oh my goodness, he was such a Vaishnava without wanting to admit it. He kept going to India and learning from his guru there, and he taught us bhakti poetry, love poetry, worship poetry, and that was amazing. Um, the sky clad and Lord White as Jasmine and all of that. Okay, last two questions here. How to be happy in love. Do you have any personal pointers to help a flagging reader refresh their love of reading? No, not a flagging reader per se. I'm not worried about a flagging reader. Reading is amazing. Reading is breathing. So you will come back to it. You have to. You love it. You know it. I am worried more about the non-reader, the person who's never really read. That person I do want to convert. I want to give them that experience. After that, when and if they choose to indulge it, that's really, up to them. Obviously, it's competing with a lot of other pulls for our time and attention in the world today. But I would take them to a library. Everything's free. It's like going to a grocery store and you can just have everything you want. And so with that, as I've answered these questions before on tags about recommending books, it involves a lot of more specific questioning of the person to find them the book that's going to unlock it for them. And after that, that's it. They're in. They're hooked. All right. First time's always free, as they say. 9, how to put books down. Is there a writer you once considered kind of oracle or a book you once thought you would adore forever, but over time have grown to see the book differently? No, I don't have many icons, and those that I do have stand the test of time. That's sort of what makes them. Brothers Karamazov and Don Quixote and the ones I'm always telling you all about. But there are certain wells that one might go to too often. When I discovered the humor writing of Woody Allen, he's as funny on the page as he is in his movies. He's got 3. Now he's got a 4th one that came much later, but at the time he had 3 collections of his short humor writings that had appeared in the New Yorker. It would be, like mocking philosophy and, all kinds of crazy deals with the devil. And I mean, you can imagine the imagination of Woody Allen, what he comes up with. They are hilarious, but I read them so much at a certain time over and over and over that finally they did start to lose their humor. I know that if I go back to them now, it's been some time, they would crack me up, out loud again, rolling on the floor. But when I first found them, I was rolling on the floor. Maybe the 3rd, 4th, 10th reading, I was rolling on the floor. But you read it 20 times, and eventually it loses a little bit of the humor. You got to let it recharge. So that, I guess, is that. So I'm going to tag a few people down in the description box. Thank you again to Heather Reeds for a very fun set of prompts there. And if I don't tag you, please do this. Tag if it interests you at all. It's one of the great things about BookTube. We're sort of all inviting each other all the time, I think. Sometimes specifically by name, but, so we all have so many names and handles. Sometimes I lose track of what was that person's real human name, or what was the name, if I know the human name, what was the name of their channel? So anyway, tag, you're it.